Okay, so I really appreciated what you had to share. And so what I'm hearing from you is that today what you'd like to do is talk about what you are passionate about concerning, moving forward in your calling.
Yeah.
And one thing I heard you really talk about in detail was about your music. Is that correct?
Yeah, music's my main thing.
Okay, great. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what it would mean for you to move forward with that. Can you explain for me a clear step you would take towards moving forward in your musical gifting?
Just bunkering down for, maybe a certain amount of time, or maybe just a set time per day, and writing something that's on my mind. Something that I feel like God's shown me, and just having a set time to be alone, to be like meditative, and just write, write things down, play the chords,
That's great. So what I'm hearing from you is that that the next step for you to be able to move forward in this gifting is that you create some small, incremental, concrete goals. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So here's another question for you related to moving forward. And that is, what is it that prompted you to come here to help make that happen?
Again, just that it can be kind of difficult, even with the example of, okay, I'm going to set apart a time to write. That doesn't always work on its own, because you can't just decide to be inspired. You can't just decide that you have something important to say, and if you're gonna, songs are a few minutes long, you kind of have to, everything about a song has to be pretty well compressed, and there's not a lot of room for fluff. So, just maybe those are maybe the micro goals within the larger goal of writing a song, or the larger goal of just writing music in general, and doing music as a ministry, and just walking that out. Being an active musician is, maybe the things I would do even that lead to that time of just enjoying playing music, just enjoying playing my own music and playing my guitar, before God, and just listening to what He might want to say through me. But maybe there are things to prepare for that time even as well. Like, it's kind of one of those things that probably is not just one time per day or one time per week, but it's also what leads up to that moment, that I come to that moment prepared.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you have a really multifaceted situation, and I get the impression that you are probably aware of some of the major blocks that you're having for why you can't sit down and write your music. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried it before. It wouldn't be certainly. I'm not about to sit down for the first time and try writing, so I'm very analytical, and so when I've failed at it, I have to think about why that is and what I could do differently. Maybe a little bit of self-coaching, but there's just nothing like, being told, oh, well, there's this one thing you're not looking at yet. So, just looking for any insight into a creative, definitely it being a creative outlet itself, music, the way you go about the reason why I think there's no person who's said, here's how you go about being a musician, is because it's personalized, it's creative to each person, how they get there. So you kind of have to think outside the box and do
Right.
whatever it is that you need to get to that comfort level, to get to that release of what,
Right.
what's already in there,
Wow.
waiting to be written.
Okay, yeah. It's, I definitely hear what you're saying, and what's really interesting too is that you're kind of talking about the abstract qualities that it takes to actually do the songwriting, and then I'm talking to you about somewhat the more pointed or streamlined reasons for figuring out what is kind of stopping you from being able to do that.
Right.
So, when you come to me, what my job is to do is to take a set of tools that already exist, and they're static.
Right.
But the amazing thing is that somewhere in those tools, there is the answer.
Yeah.
So
I like practical steps, even though it's almost mysterious how a songwriter writes a song. It just comes to them. How to get there is still something where you can just take certain practical steps, and I have ideas, but also open to hearing something that I wouldn't have thought of. So.
Right, so it's really exciting. So to keep it moving forward, one thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to try an exercise with you where we just basically list out the different spheres of your life, or different compartments of your life.
Okay.
And through going over those things, maybe it'll take more time for you than just the session that we have allotted here. But it could be homework for you. Come back and think about it. And that's okay if that's what you need to do.
Sure.
But so what we do for this exercise is we list out the major parts of your life that make you who you are. Each person has their own, but we will just basically skim through them, and you can tell me which one makes you stop and say, oh, you know what, I don't have an issue with this isn't stopping me from writing. And maybe I mention a different area of your life, and you say, you know what, that is definitely an issue for me. Okay. Are you okay with that? All right.
Sure.
Great. Okay. So let's see. There are seven different areas that are just points that you can focus on. Okay. So here's the first one. It's faith, and that's having to do with your allegiance to Jesus, meaning, as an older Christian, somebody who's had faith for a long time, we've oftentimes sorted out a lot of big question marks, but sometimes littler ones may remain. It really depends, because everyone's walk is different. So let's just talk about your faith and how that might be either helping or at this point in your walk maybe inhibiting this goal that you have to write music. Maybe it's a point where you're having to take a stop and you don't know why. Does that mean anything for you? Is there something about your faith walk where you think, yeah, you know what, it's great, and it's probably not part of why I'm not able to move forward? Or is there something,
the only thing about my faith walk that comes to mind with this is, and it's a pretty significant thing, is just that I need something fresh, from God. So I can't just rely on the fact that I've been a believer all these years and, like you said, answered some of the bigger questions, but just having a steady, regular time of prayer, time of devotion, reading the Word, meditating, that would really directly tie in, I think, with feeling more comfortable and confident that what I'm writing is not just my own idea or just something that sounds good to me, but that it would be true to the calling, that that I would make God proud with what I write down, and not just kind of be stirring some random ideas that I came up with in that hour that I gave myself.
Wow, that was really great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle the ones that you want to think about when you go home. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to circle faith. It's a good thing. Okay, so that's a point where you want to think.
Right. You said there were 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Those 7 things are faith, family, friends. They're all F words.
Okay.
Finances, fitness, your future. Okay.
That's 7, right?
God's plan for you. Let me see. Let's count
Oh,
this
and there's
up.
one more.
I'm like, what have I said? What have I not said? And then the last one is fun, and that's just another word to make it easier to remember. Talking about emotional balance. Okay, so we've talked about faith. All right, we know that we want to focus on that some. Okay, now the next one is family. Family meaning your home life and your relationships with those who are closest to you. Is there anything there where there's a block? It's something that's preventing you from moving forward in your writing? Approval, disapproval, time spent.
Your time management is tough at the age of 35.
Yeah.
Growing family, young kids, but I don't have any fear associated with that. It's just a matter of just making a decision, really, and saying this time is going to be, I know I'll have their support.
Okay, that's great. Okay, what about friends? Do you have friends that are helping or hurting?
I keep thinking of what could potentially be a bad thing. I
Yeah.
mean, there's definitely plenty of good when it comes to friends. A lot of people who believe in me and think I should be doing this, and
That's cool.
have kind of kept me from just writing it off and just doing status quo. But on the flip side, I have in me, I think, sometimes a fear of failing them in a way. Like now that they do expect great things, it's like I start thinking about, well, if I start to write something, will they also agree with me that this is really...
Wow, yeah, that's a really great, open, honest question to have. Okay.
So for me, I just have had to maybe block... I think I need to kind of block that thought out. Or not block it out, but I think I need to just say, okay, God, this is what you have for me, and just have a little bit more of a confidence in just Him, and not maybe test market on my friends or something as if
wow, that's so good. Yeah.
I need to let that go. It's just the only challenge I think of with friends is whether or not I get the reaction from them that I think I should be getting. That's not my way of litmus testing what God is doing in my life.
Wow, that was really good. I'm circling friends. This is all really positive stuff, by the way, because, since we're both Christians, we both know God, and we can acknowledge the fact that every time you can pinpoint something that needs your attention, you can also believe by faith that that's just the next step God's giving you to work towards your solution. So this is all really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Finances. Is that helping or hurting in any way you can think of?
I mean, I have to have a regular job, writing songs doesn't...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that kind of plays into time management as well, but
Sure.
I mean, I'm very fortunate to be in charge of my own schedule. I mean, that's not a finances thing, but what I do to...
I hear you.
What my job, which is my means of finances, allows me to
Right. What we want to pinpoint
change my
here.
schedule however I see fit, so that
Okay.
and then I don't have like a I don't
Okay.
I don't see a
Right.
I mean, you
I
may
don't
have
either.
a
It's
question,
okay.
but I don't see any financial turmoil that would
Great.
prevent me from writing a song.
I hear you. All right. And then we've only got a couple more. So fitness. I want to hear what you have to say.
It's just another goal, so I mean, it's almost a separate thing we could talk about, but I have made some progress this year with losing some weight and, maybe offsetting some fat for muscle, and then just had a little bit of a time period here where things have slowed down again, so I just don't want to lose that edge and maybe there's a little bit of competition